The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you may be in the world. If you are here for Top 5 Factors Killing Your Wireless Connectivity webinar with Jim Vajda, you are in the right place, so welcome. My name is Erica Eierman. I am part of business development here at 7Signal. Some of you may have already received an email or a card from me in the past, so if this is your first time here, welcome. If not, welcome back. And at this time, I'd also like to introduce Director of Global Wi-Fi and CWNE, Jim Vajda.
Thanks, Erica, and hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jim. So before we head into our webinar topic, let's just hear a little bit more about Jim Vajda.
Yeah, thanks. So I am the Director of Global Wi-Fi Solutions here at 7Signal. I'm a CWNE and also CCNP Wireless, and I have experience in several different verticals doing wireless engineering, most recently healthcare. You can follow me on Twitter at Jim Vajda, where I post about all sorts of things, including Wi-Fi, and then I have a blog at framebyframewifi.net, which is exclusively Wi-Fi content, if that's all you're interested in.
All righty, thank you, Jim. And just to dive in a little bit deeper about 7Signal, give you some background information on who we are. We were originally founded in Helsinki, Finland in 2007, then relocated our headquarters up to the beautiful and sunny Cleveland, Ohio back in 2012. There was an abundance of wireless knowledge in this area, so this was a good spot for us to move. We're also certified in over 40 different countries and monitor over 4 million wireless devices daily, and that number continues to grow as we add on new customers daily. We also have 12 patents saying that our solutions can do a lot of things that a lot of other solutions cannot, and we're also 100% SaaS-based as well, something we're very proud of here also. And looking at this slide, you can just see some of our very notable customers. We deal with enterprise and retail, healthcare, higher education, high density MSP. There's not really a vertical that our solutions can't integrate with. But to dive in a little more specifically, if we look over at enterprise, you can see Lockheed Martin up in the top left-hand corner. I was recently just working with Lockheed Martin, and they needed more visibility into their wireless infrastructures from different locations that their IT employees were located at. So they were located in one space and they were looking to monitor spaces that were all over the world. So our Mobilize solution really gave them an intuitive tool to look into all of their wireless environments and tell them what's going on and give them alerts proactively before there's any wireless downtime or any bad things happening within the network. And with healthcare, we continue to help hospitals monitor patient devices that run strictly off of Wi-Fi. In higher ed, we help stop student complaints or professor complaints about there being any wireless downtime, since all of our all learning bases off of Wi-Fi and the internet nowadays. So really, there's not a space that our solutions cannot help with. And to dive even further into our technology platform, like I mentioned before, we run completely software as a service. And we also help find and fix your Wi-Fi issues with a proactive framework. So what this means is we use reporting, alerting, and analytic tools to let you know when something's going wrong within the network before there's any downtime or issues. So we do this through different tests within our solutions. We do throughput, packet loss, latency and jitter, spectrum testing. We can even do VoIP and MOS scores as well. So there's really a robust amount of testing and alerting that's built into our solutions that really make it one of the best wireless network monitoring solutions there is. And before I hand over the controls to Jim for his topic today, I just wanted to mention that we have some of our free regional user groups coming up here. We have one in Nashville, Tennessee, before Wi-Fi Trek. That's going to be on the 17th, where we'll have some of our customers there to speak, as well as just a lot of great Wi-Fi wireless knowledge. It'll be a great opportunity for you to learn a lot of information. We'll also be at Wireless LAN Pros in Prague in October. So if you're interested for signing up for either of those and we'll be attending either of these events, you can use the link below to register, or you can either reach out to myself or Don Cook and we can get you all set up for those events. And without further ado, I'll hand over the controls to Jim Vajda.
Thanks, Erica. All right, so today we're talking about the top 5 problems affecting Wi-Fi. And the way we help you address those at 7Signal is using our outside-in approach. This is different from what you're used to with the vendor tools provided by your WLAN infrastructure vendor. So those tools, those tools that come with your Wi-Fi network are great for getting visibility into the infrastructure performance itself, the device's health, the uptime, number of connected clients on APs, things like that you can glean from it. But the real performance and real end user experience is still a bit of a mystery. And that's where we come in with our outside-in approach. By acting like a client and connecting to your APs and measuring the RF performance, we give you the full picture of performance, not just uptime and syslog. So that's what makes us different. We have our 2 products are Mobileye and Sapphire, and they both upload all their data to the cloud. So it's very simple for administrators to see the performance data that they're collecting. Mobileye is what we're going to talk about today. So Mobileye is a software agent that runs on your enterprise endpoints. So it runs on Windows, Mac OS, Android, and iOS, and it runs tests and collects Wi-Fi metrics from those Wi-Fi clients themselves and uploads it to the cloud where you can do analysis on it. Sapphire is similar, except that it is a standalone. It's a standalone hardware sensor that runs its own tests and also has a few more tools like the ability to do an over-the-air packet capture and a spectrum analyzer that are really valuable as well. But all that data from both products gets uploaded to the cloud, which makes it very easy to see what's going on. So we're going to talk about what the major issues are, and what Cisco says is that what we found from our own field research is about 50% of Wi-Fi issues, and some, in my own experience, sometimes even more than that in a well-designed network. But 50% of Wi-Fi issues can be traced back to the client device. And Cisco themselves, obviously a big player in the Wi-Fi market, they say IT groups spend nearly half their time finding and fixing user problems, things that are wrong with clients and client configuration and bad client behavior, things like that. So users are a big source of these problems as well. So let's talk about these top 5 problems that we're going to look at today. So congestion, so that can be RF congestion, channel utilization is too high, we can't get good decent throughput, our retries are too high because of that. RF problems and code channel interference. So we've got too many APs on the same channel, we've got neighbors operating on the same channel, it's causing lots of collisions. Maybe there's a buildup, maybe there's interference from some non-Wi-Fi sources of interference, like microwaves or Bluetooth, or there's all sorts of stuff that's operating, especially in the 2.4 gigahertz band that we need visibility into. Roaming, that's probably the most classic client-centered Wi-Fi problem. Clients aren't roaming effectively. They're sticking to APs for too long, and it's the stickiness causes the signal strength to degrade, the connection degrades, the data rate drops, retries build up. All that turns into bad application performance. Then adapters and drivers. There aren't many places where they're keeping a tight watch on what driver versions they've got and their client wireless adapters, and even which adapters are deployed. A lot of folks have a policy to always buy the same make and model laptops, but they may not standardize on that adapter. And so we need visibility into that, because those can be sources of problems as well. And then coverage, obviously, if there's a lack of coverage, very classic Wi-Fi problem, then that's going to cause application performance for end users to suffer, and you'll get some grumbly folks that are complaining about Wi-Fi performance and calling your help desk. So that's what we're going to talk about today, and let's jump right into a demo. And I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so let's talk through some of these problems, and let me move some things around. Okay, so this is Mobileye, and we're going to look at some of the problems we can solve with Mobileye. The first thing we're going to look at is roaming. So very easily, and this is a demo environment showing our Mobileye dashboard, but very easily we can go to our Wi-Fi report, look at a specific SSID and band, and see who's having problems and where. So in this case, we can see at the headquarters, 1 of 9 clients has 14 problems, and that's this particular voice over Wi-Fi handset. And we're not bashing SpectraLink today, we're just showing this one because we have it in our lab and we've been analyzing it. But we also have a Dell here that's had some issues as well. And in fact, we can, since we're focused on the headquarters, why don't we just click on the headquarters? And then we can see all the clients that have been there today. And we can even go out further back and get results from the last week. So this makes it easy to see in these specific areas how many problems we've had, what clients are having them, and what the nature of them is. So with roaming, we see several MacBook Pros near the top of this list in terms of poor roaming at our headquarters. And if I just click on my own laptop, I can see exactly what's happened. Just this afternoon, I had a roaming problem, and what was the issue? Well, my signal strength dropped to -72 dBm, and our stickiness factor, which takes into account all the surrounding APs that I could have roamed to, was a 2, which is the highest it gets. So I had some stickiness, and I can click through here and see some other incidents as well, right around the same time. So what I can do with this report, is look at these sites and see how big of a problem is roaming at this particular site. Is it universal? Are all my clients having roaming problems, or are there just some rotten apples, like this case where we have one handset that's having pretty serious roaming problems, and others that have had no roaming problems? So we can really dive into that. We also have a very handy platforms visualization where we have this really interesting sunburst graph that shows roaming performance for our entire client population, broken out by platform, and then make and model, and then even the wireless adapter and driver versions it's running. So we can see if a machine has different adapters, like this these particular Dell latitudes have different adapters, and then the driver versions they're running, and which of those have had problems. So if there's a specific combination of adapter and driver version, we can identify those very quickly and drill in and see what's going on with them. We have a few more really nice reports for looking at roaming as well. So one of my favorite is bottom 20 clients roaming. And I'll kick this out to 30 days so we have more data. And we can see which clients have had the most sticky samples over the specific period of time that we're looking at. So this laptop on top has had 240 samples with stickiness in it, and the minimum signal strength he's experienced has been minus 92 dBm. So a pretty significant problem, and really a client-centered problem, because roaming decisions are made by clients. They aren't made by the infrastructure. So this is an easy way to identify those clients that are having roaming problems, and then get some intelligence into what adapters are they running and what driver versions are they running. So in this case, it might be time to look at a driver update for this particular machine as well. So very, very handy there. Going back to our Wi-Fi report, and I'm going to go back to the HQ and look at the last week again. Actually, here we go. We can use this to get data about coverage problems, congestion problems, and RF problems. And we'll talk a little bit about each. So coverage problems are pretty simple to understand. They're just a lack of signal strength in a particular area that's lower than what your threshold is. And obviously you can set that threshold to whatever your design requirement is. And like roaming, when we have clients that have coverage problems, we can look at those problems and make a determination about their severity and if we need to do something about it. So here we have some coverage problems over the last week for this one particular machine. It looks like, I know his office is over there in the corner. Maybe he's just our coverage is just a little bit, or the transmit power of the AP might be just a little bit low. So it's not quite reaching out to the far corner where this laptop is. And so the signal strength is sitting right around minus 74 dBm. And we probably want to bring that up a little bit. So this is a great way to identify coverage problems. We also get the name of the AP that he's connected to when this occurs. That way, that helps us localize it in the particular area where it's occurring. So that's really helpful too. And we can always sort this report by the problem we're looking at. Congestion is another problem we can look at. We talked about what is it? Is it RF congestion, or is it a problem upstream on the route switch network, or maybe out on the internet? In this case, we do something really neat where we're collecting all these Wi-Fi statistics around congestion, and we're going to say there's a congestion problem when our signal strength is good, our data rate's good, so that's our 802.11 data rate we're using over the air. It's very good, 360 megabits per second. But our download throughput is below our threshold that we've configured. So in this case, his throughput was only half a megabit per second, which is really poor. And now we're also, so that's enough for us to say there's a congestion issue. But the second question about where's the bottleneck? Is it in the RF, or is it upstream somewhere? We can help you answer that, because we're also collecting the channel utilization and client count from the AP that we're running this test on. So here we can see the channel utilization at this time was about 9%, and there are 4 clients connected to that AP. So, those are pretty healthy numbers, especially in the 5 gigahertz band. I wouldn't be too concerned about the Wi-Fi in this case. I'd probably look at the internet circuit or some other potential bottleneck. He's had a couple issues too, so we can scroll through these and see what numbers have been different. So very low throughput consistently there. But again, channel utilization 8, 9, 10%. That's pretty modest. Certainly enough airtime available to get significantly higher throughput, especially at the data rate that he's able to sustain. So we can make some really cool inferences with all this data around congestion and help you troubleshoot that as well. Next one we'll look at is RF problems and CCI. So I'll go out to 30 days and see if we have one of those. Yeah, we do. So here's an RF problem. And this is a bit ambiguous at the moment, but what we're talking about is instances where your signal strength is good, but your data rate's low. So this machine had a signal strength of negative 45 dBm. That's really good. He's also operating in the 5 gigahertz band, so very nice to see that. But he's only able to sustain a data rate, a Wi-Fi data rate over the air of 18 megabits per second, and the throughput is terrible as well. So what does that tell you? Well, the signal strength's good, but the data rate's bad. That means the client is shifting down because retries are building up, the AP is not acknowledging the frames it's transmitting, so it's using more robust, more reliable data rates. Those are lower data rates. And the reasons for that are, possible causes of that are several. That's why we just call this a general RF problem. But it's probably co-channel interference. Other APs operating on the same channel, and their transmissions are causing collisions in the air. It could be adjacent channel interference from partly overlapping cells. It could be RF interference this is the 5 gigahertz band, but there's other stuff operating in 5 gigahertz now besides just Wi-Fi. So it could be a non-Wi-Fi source of interference. There's a lot of possibilities, and that's why we kind of leave it open as just a general RF problem that needs some further investigation if it happens more often. So those are RF problems. I think the next thing we wanted to talk about, we touched on a little bit, but bad client adapters and drivers. And we looked at that on the platforms page, but just to look again, we can zero in very quickly on those particular adapter and driver combinations that are problematic and see how frequently they've had issues. We also have another report, which I really like, which is our bottom 20 adapters for roaming. So not clients in this case, but adapters. But we're going to look at the adapters and drivers that they're running and group that data together to tell you something about their performance. So here we can see Todd has actually installed a driver update on his machine. And we've got roaming performance data from the old driver version and the new driver version. And unfortunately, we don't see a big improvement. So it's he probably needs to keep trying. Maybe there's some advanced driver settings that he can change, but we can tell very easily what the roaming performance is of this particular adapter and driver. And we can see this for other machines as well. So very handy. We can see, get an idea of the scale of the issue too. So very handy for finding those adapter driver versions and combinations that are problematic, and the data comes right from your environment, so you know that it's a problem in your environment, not just a general problem overall with the adapter driver. So great. So that is what I wanted to cover today in terms of looking at those 5 factors that affect Wi-Fi performance with Mobileye. And so with that, Erica, I will send it back to you.
Awesome, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Alrighty. Oops. So at this time, we're just going to open up the panel for any questions that you might have for Jim for any of the topics that he covered today or about our Mobilize solution. So you can use the GoToWebinar panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and there is a questions tab. You can enter any questions you might have, and we will do our best to answer everyone's questions. Alrighty, we're going to start answering some questions here. We have our first question. Does the platform work for Chromebooks and Linux clients?
Yeah, today we do not have a Chrome OS or Linux agent, but it's certainly an area of interest for us. We'll put it like that. So, but today, no, we do not.
We have another question here. What has been the biggest issue over the last month? I'm assuming that's regarding our corporate network here at 7 Signal. I don't know if we've had any large issues. Jim, do you know of any?
Yeah, here at HQ, we have a lot of MacBook Pros, and they are very mobile, and their roaming performance leaves something to be desired. So our biggest issue is roaming.
Perfect. And we had someone ask for a copy of the slides, which we can also send to you after the webinar as well. And that looks like all of our questions here today. I wanted to thank Jim today for doing such a great job with Mobileye and presenting that information. So thank you, Jim.
My
And
pleasure, thanks.
yeah, and I'll also be sending all the attendees a $5 Panera gift card, good for you to use in the mail. So thank you everyone for attending our webinar. Look out for your gift card in the mail, and feel free to either reach out to myself or Don Cook if you have any other questions. And we also have new webinars every week with changing topics, so feel to register for those as well. With that, thank you everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.